Hello, my name is Ernie Friend from Florida State College in Jacksonville, Florida. And today I'm going to talk to you about a new program we created a few years ago called Network Virtualization. Our Network Virtualization program actually started about 5 or 6 years ago. We were getting, the local business community was requesting that our students get more experience on some of the latest network virtualization technologies. One of the things that I had to do originally was identify what that really was. At the time, there was no program or access to any program where I could use as a model. So one of the first things we took a look at is what's out there, who are the big players in network virtualization. Certainly at the time then and still today, the big players were EMC, VMware, and Citrix. So one of the things we tried to do was figure out what companies were using what products. As it turned out, they were using the three big products I just mentioned. So we went about creating the program on the basis of it needs to be something that the local business community needed, but it also had to be something that we could actually do without, within a small budget that we had at the time, and make it something that the students could see value in. So we worked on that for probably 6 months. At the time, unfortunately, some of the resources that are available now weren't available to us then. So we had to create a lot of this stuff from scratch. And as we progressed through, we developed the program. We sort of got it going at our school locally. And when I started telling other schools about it, I realized quickly that other schools were very interested in what we're doing. We didn't have the capacity at the time to really share it on a large scale. So working with our local grants office, Jennifer Peterson specifically, we decided to go for an NSF grant on network virtualization. Through that grant, we created, sort of formalized the courses. I got the courses listed with the state as a college credit certificate, which I'll get more detail in a few minutes. And we submitted the grant, and we were awarded the grant. So the basics of the grant that we received were not only to create the network virtualization curriculum, but also to share that. So we brought on some partners in Florida and one out in Texas. And as a team, we finished the development of the curriculum, but each of those schools were also required to develop a program locally so we could expand it throughout the state, and one partner that we had out near Dallas, Texas. With most AS programs around the country, they're driven by the needs of the local community. So at the time that we created ours, the virtualization cloud computing, although it was certainly around, it wasn't substantial enough for a lot of schools to create a program on it. That changed quickly, as most IT people know, and we really felt it was important to get ahead of that curve because there's a long lead time by the time you decide you want to create a program and it actually gets implemented at your school. So one of the things that we started working on immediately is ensuring that we had some business partners that were going to help us develop it, make sure that what we were creating was focused on their needs specifically, so that when the students left the program, they could go out and get a really good, well-paying job. And a lot of times that's probably easier said than done. I think a lot of businesses that were helping us, they've got very large staffs, and some of their expectations were sort of engineering level people they were looking for. And typically in a 2-year program, we train technicians. So what we had to sort of help us define was what would an entry-level technician be able to do, not a high-level engineer. And it took us a few months to get that down, and we were able to sort of settle on exactly the responsibilities that an entry-level technician needs to understand in network virtualization. Most of those are common IT-related responsibilities, but as it relates to the virtualization, there's very specific technologies that are out there. The ones I mentioned are the most common: EMC for the storage, Citrix and VMware are the two most common server and desktop applications. So the next step was, well, how do you actually teach that to students? It was really important to us and really important to the local business community that the programs be very hands-on intensive. We weren't training managers, we weren't training engineers, for higher level thinking. We were training people who would come in every day and maintain these systems. So that took, some time to settle on. And I think we're really proud of the fact that once we were able to collect that information and build the program, we had a very, very, very strong program that, the students that pass through it are able to go out and quickly either upgrade their skills or if they're new to IT, get some skills where they can go out and have a good career and make some good money. So after working with the local business partners and deciding on what the content needed to look like, the next step, logical next step, is to put it into a college credit course. At the time, the courses were not available at the state level. Here in Florida, the course numbering system is centralized at the state. So I had to request that the courses be added to the state numbering system, which they did fairly quickly. And then those courses were available to us to teach. Now, one of the things that at the time is unique, it's certainly more common now, is we've always had stackable certificates, or stackable degrees with certificates embedded. And what that means is you have a core of courses, let's say 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 courses that every student takes. So every student must pass through the core, and then after they get through the core, they could have some options. So in our case at the time, we had once they finished the core, and I'll describe that in a little more detail in a minute, once they pass through the core, they could have an option of focusing on security, IP telephony, Cisco track, we had a voice track, and then the newest one that we were adding was the virtualization track. So for example, in our core at the time, we're modifying it slightly now, but at the time, students would take A+, they would take a Security Plus, they would take a Tech Support class, they would also take a Linux class. In the future, they're going to be required to take a server class, which was not required for all students. And then at that point, they can move on to a specialization or a college credit certificate, and some places call it a stackable certificate. So as they progress through, they can focus on the virtualization. Well, the way it works out is it's a 63 credit hour program. I know many schools have 60, and that's the direction our state's going here in Florida. But the core was about 30 credits. Here in Florida, there's about, the core was about 20 credits. And here in Florida, in the AS program, students need about 15 credits of general education. So that's about 35 credits towards the 63 credit degree. So if you were to take the virtualization track, which consisted of an EMC course, a Citrix course, and 2 VMware courses, and the server course at the time, you could complete that, but you could still take parts or all of another track. So if you think about it from this perspective, the core, then you add one track, in this case virtualization, and maybe security on top of that. So students can sort of define the way they want to go. And that works out really well for not only new students who have very little experience in IT, but it also works out really well for students who are working in the field, and maybe at the time when they got their job, virtualization or security or IP telephony wasn't a part of their job, but it is now, or maybe they want to move up and those kind of skills are required. So we get a lot of incumbent workers in the program when it's designed that way, and we also get a lot of new students. Another big advantage that we've got here in Florida is the state has mandated that if a student has certain certificates, for example, A+, Security Plus, CCNA, Windows, Microsoft, the list goes on and on, they can get college credit. So if you're a student coming to us and you have your A+, which is in the core of the program, we can give you 6 credits. At the time, virtualization courses were not part of that. I submitted some paperwork to the state, and they added the virtualization courses to it. So if a student already comes to us and say they're EMC certified, we can give them credit for that course, and they won't have to retake it. They just take the remaining credits in the virtualization track. And something that's relatively new to Florida, but Florida is investing heavily in student vendor certificates. So not only can we give students college credit for the certifications they currently have. But the state, when a student comes to us, they're in their program, and let's say they take A+ or one of the EMC, VMware, Citrix courses, we can, if they come to us and they complete their certificate, we reimburse them for the cost of that certificate, and then the state provides a financial benefit back to the college. So not only does it work well for the students, but it works well for the college as well, and that allows me to promote the program and sort of develop new ideas as it relates to the AS programs in general. So we had the business partner backing to create the new program. We developed the curriculum, we got it registered with the state, we created the college credit certificate for virtualization. We made it stackable within the 2-year degree as an option for students to take. One of the things that certainly we had to work on that wasn't available to a large extent at the time was how we're going to deliver it. Certainly anybody that's used Citrix or VMware or EMC, there are ways to put it on a local computer in the classroom, but there was a lot of maintenance overhead when you do that. So we were sort of looking for a way to take the classroom experience out of a physical desktop in the classroom and put it in a virtual environment so that students could access it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The problem with having it in a classroom on a computer is the only place the students can work on it is in that classroom on a computer. So if the room's being used, they can't get access to their labs they were working on, or if, oftentimes some of that stuff gets wiped out and what the students were working on is no longer available. So we looked around, we found a product called NetLab. It's developed by a company called NDG. And basically it allows us to remotely build the labs that are part of the virtualization program in a remote appliance, and then we can easily manage it. You can use it for scheduling, you can use it to build and develop new curriculum, but I think the big advantage for the students and for the instructors is it works. It works every time. It's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like I mentioned. But it also allows us to do hybrid courses. Instead of having the students come in 1 day a week for 16 weeks, now we can sort of compress that a little bit. We can virtualize the infrastructure it takes to teach it. And at the same time, the students would do the labs on their own, and perhaps the lectures are delivered in class or even online for that matter. So we isolated the lab from the lecture and provided both in a virtual environment. And it's really helped grow the program, but at the same time, for the management of it, I think it's really helped us maintain that sort of advanced infrastructure in a way that's available to the students most of the time, but on the same respect, it doesn't take a lot of maintenance from our part. So as we created our network virtualization program, we got lots of feedback from the business community, and they wanted us to focus on EMC, VMware, and Citrix. At the time, VMware and EMC did have some materials available. It wasn't really robust at that time, but it was definitely useful. So we used what we could from those two companies to help create the curriculum to teach our students. At the time, Citrix did not have materials available, so a lot of that we had to create on our own. Today, EMC, VMware, and Citrix all have academy programs, so they're designed to assist colleges and universities that want to create content for the courses that relate to their products. The big advantage of using the academies is the instructors get some training material, labs, PowerPoints, in a lot of cases free vouchers for the instructors. The students in many cases get free certification or reduced certifications, but they also get some well-established, nationally recognized certifications and content in labs that helps them understand what it takes today to work in the network virtualization field. As I mentioned earlier, the project we're working on now was funded by the National Science Foundation as an ATE project. We are in the 4th year, or the extension year, of our grant, and this year we're really focusing on dissemination. And this is certainly part of the reason why I wanted to talk a little bit about our program, the history of it, but more importantly at this point is we want to be able to help other schools around the country whose local business community wants more courses on network virtualization. We have a long history of the development and certainly some of the issues and hopefully some solutions that may benefit you. The grant itself is managed by Hayes Denmark, and certainly he's been a great resource for us. And between me and him and the other partners that we currently have, we can help most schools, I think, go from nothing on network virtualization to an entire college credit certificate and certainly a whole 2-year program. One of the things that's on our horizon, I know it's on a lot of schools' horizon, our sort of next step that we're looking at. I think we've sort of conquered network virtualization here locally. Our next step is to start creating a cloud-based series of courses, which will eventually be a college credit certificate in itself. So for those of you that are interested in developing a cloud-based curriculum, certainly we'd like to work with you, share ideas, and then in the future, perhaps all of us collectively will have a solid cloud-based program. We hope this overview has been informative, inspiring, and useful to those schools who are considering creating a network virtualization program. We've got some great partners that assisted us, and they will certainly assist you as well, including NetLab, EMC, VMware, and Citrix. So if you're considering creating a program, please contact us, and we'll assist and share all the materials and experience that we had creating ours, and we'd love to hear and share your ideas as well. Thanks, and have a great day.